This is the North End. This is the North End.
Welcome to the North End. I am blessed with Mr. Paul Forrest, Mr. Connie, I'm going to call him today because it couldn't get out of my mouth, and JP California. Lads, the lads are here. How's everybody doing? I'll start with you, Paulie. Good to see you, buddy. What's going on?
Well, you're on mute, pal.
That's a sweet irony. You told me to put the mute on. I didn't know how to turn it off.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that after. But how are you, Paul?
You trapped me, Brian. I fell into your ploy. I'm going to try this from now on. I kind of like using the mic as being like a, hey.
Is that your new move? That's your new move?
Hey.
Quality move, buddy.
It might be my move. I'm good. I'm too cold for the shit, but I'm good.
It is nasty.
Shut up, California.
Yeah. Shut up, California. Connie, how are you, buddy? Good to see you.
International break, so super bored, but we're in the mini silly season in January, so following transfer rumors like crazy. But happy to chat some football with you fellas.
Excellent. Mr. California over there, you are obviously warm and comfortable and enjoying the weather.
It's actually getting a little too hot. It's about 80 degrees today, guys. I'm going to do that every podcast.
We all quit, right?
It's really
Mic
nice.
drop.
You know, just on a quick detour, I'm the head coach of my high school program, and this year has been a struggle. It's my first year in, and the program is struggling. So I internally
are you on the line to get sacked, or what's the situation?
No. I'm employed there, so I'm pretty good for probably at least 3 or 4 solid seasons. We're just out of our depth. We had 15 seniors graduate.
So you lost a lot of your squad.
We lost a lot of talent.
Recruitment issues.
Can't recruit. Public high school can't recruit.
You just got to bring them. Just got to bring them. Whoever's there through.
That's
I
right.
Try and grow.
Lucky.
So it's a difficult season.
Hey, that's difficult. Well, you know what? Good to have you here, and we'll revel in your temperature. try to manage our own over here.
I'll take that advantage I got.
Minus 18 degrees. Speaking of football, we had some games to talk about, so let's get into it. I'm going to bust out the slide, and I'm going to hand it over to Paulie. Paulie.
Game week 23. What a wild ride, everybody. Some big points in the bottom 3. Man City dropped some points, and Liverpool make up some ground. And Salah, even though he's not even in the Premier League right now, he's off doing his thing for Egypt, is still the leading goal scorer with 16, followed closely by teammate Jota with 10, which is a whole different conversation about how I don't know that their Premier League is gifted with like elite strikers anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
Like it's just I don't even know who like the elite strikers are anymore. That if I looked around like the world, who would come in and score like goals for fun in the Premier League, I just don't know.
We know who it's supposed to be, but it definitely hasn't been this season.
It's been an odd one.
Kane, Lukaku. We all at the beginning of this season, we all were all like, "Yeah, they'll get 20 goals." Yeah. They're nowhere near it.
I guess.
Yeah.
Well,
It's halfway. Kane will probably get close to it. Lukaku, maybe that's another conversation.
You know who can score goals? Norwich. Norwich win their 4th game of the season.
Never thought you'd be saying that, did you, Paulie?
Never. 4th game of the season and their second 2-game winning streak of the season. If they do win games this season, it does seem to happen in streaks of 2. And they leave the bottom of the table in the process, sending Watford, who they defeated, down to 19th. Following the game, Claudio Ranieri sacked because
another one bites the dust.
He's had a very rough 3 months. They won 1 game against Manchester United in a shocking 4-1 result, but after that it was all gone to shit. The other highlight of this game is, of course, Dennis or Denny, depending how everybody chooses to say his name, ruined a lot of fantasy managers because he had a double game week. And a lot of people thought that, well, he scores goals. He plays twice. He's playing Norwich. I'm going to get him in the team. And he gets a second yellow and gets a 1-game suspension. So if you captain him, you're staring at a -2 on your screen, and that sucks. We'll talk about it a little bit after this, but there was some developments, obviously, at Watford. They are going to be appointing their 3rd manager of the season. It's not even February yet, and that's
crazy.
That's mind-boggling to me.
They might be
but-
on 4 by the end of the season.
Maybe. We'll see how it goes. They got time for it. They do. Everton host Aston Villa and go down. Duncan Ferguson loses his first match as interim manager of Everton. On this, his second go-round as interim manager of Everton. Everton now circling the drain of the bottom 3 with 1 point from possible 15 in their last 5 games. And 9 days after leaving Everton, Lucas Digne assists the winner and for his trouble gets pelted by a bottle from the crowd. Things are getting a little bit crazy. A little bit crazy. We'll talk about this one a little bit more in depth. Obviously, it's an Aston Villa game. We want to get our Aston Villa guys' thoughts on this game, but I'm just going to share this wild factoid that I thought was just too good, too irresistible for me not to share. Barcelona spent a combined £219 million on Gomez, Digne, Coutinho, and Yerry Mina, all featured in this game.
Look at that, eh?
I'm sorry. Who was the first name on that?
Where did you dig that stat from? That's a good
Gomes.
How did you
Everton's
find this
midfield.
out?
I dig deep.
Oh,
It's
man,
called
you
research,
dug
JP. Do it
super
sometime.
big.
Just kidding.
And I'm going to stop saying Lucas Digne. We spent a lot of time looking into how to say his name. It's Luca Dean.
Luca Dean.
Luca Dean.
Yep.
Luca Dean.
I've been calling him Digne for like 2
I
seasons
know, me
now.
too.
Incorrectly, Connie.
Incorrectly.
Man, he's good.
Yeah.
1-0 to Aston Villa. What did we think, JP? How was this game?
Like all of Villa games, it's a game of 2 halves. Villa have really struggled to put
I'm going to
together-
stop you there and just remind you that all football games are games of 2 halves.
Thank you. I know I'm an American, and I should
You're not
know
special.
That,
You're not special, JP.
but the problem is Villa can't string together 90 minutes. We get 60 minutes of great play and 30 minutes of shit. We get great defense for 50 minutes and 40 minutes of just crap defense. Like, we can't string it together. So for us, again, a 45 minutes of really good play and then 45 minutes of sitting in our own half and holding for a 1-0 lead, it worked out. I didn't really love the style of play, but I did like that we didn't start with Danny Ings and Watkins again for like the nth time where we don't get results. I don't know the last time both of those guys started and we won. So for us to start one striker, play a 4-3-2-1, like a Christmas tree.
Basically a 4-3-3 with a narrow 3 at the top.
Yeah.
With Philip Coutinho getting more game time and starting, I'm pretty happy. We have a good run of results, so I'm looking forward to when he gets back from break and seeing if we can get one more body in before the end of the transfer window.
Are you guys attached to anybody? This is just genuine curiosity.
Yes,
you've already
we are.
had a busy window.
I have it on pretty solid report that Villa had a £28 million bid for Basuma turned down.
Of course.
And we are in negotiations with Juventus right now with for their holding center mid. I think it's Decore.
No, it's Betancourt.
Bentancur. Thank you. I knew it was one of those.
It had
R's.
a core in it.
Yeah, Bentancur. And he's really well rated at 24 years of age. He has over 140 games for him, but he doesn't score. He only has like 4 goals.
What's it, CDM?
He's a defensive
CDM.
midfielder, JP. Jesus
and he's
Christ.
like 6'2", 6'3", so he's a big guy. I don't know if I love this move, but pulling him from Juventus is a big move in itself, and he's playing for them regularly. So I think pulling him should only be seen as a coup. He's just not my number one, but, they're the pros. I'm not. So I'll take it. If we can pull him for under 25, that'd be an amazing window for us. Luca Dean, Philip Coutinho, and however the hell you say his name.
Betancourt.
Betancourt. I'll take that transfer window all year long.
I bet you would. I want you to do me a favor and just stop saying he's Basuma all the time. You're not getting he's Basuma.
We're not getting Basuma.
Not happening.
Not happening. They quoted us back at 42 apparently.
Yeah, let's just not talk about him anymore in that context. He's not going to go to an Aston Villa.
I do like that we were like brave enough to put in a solid bid for him. Like that shows some ambition.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. That's just a fact. Over to Brentford hosting Wolves in a game that was marred by a very long delay caused by what else? It's the new reality, not COVID, but a drone that just hovered above the field mysteriously for a good 20 minutes before. I don't even know how you resolved that. I don't know if it was shot out of the sky or if whoever left it there hovering, recording, and was making a cup of tea came back and realized the game had been stopped and put 2 and 2 together and moved the drone on. I don't know, but it was a long-ass delay. Ultimately, I don't know if it played a role in the game, but the game was won by Wolves 2-1. Matinho scores an assist for the first time in the Premier League. He's quietly putting together a pretty decent campaign for a guy of his advanced years and central position, which is, I think he goes under the radar quite a bit. I am a big fan of that guy. Wolves have now won 5 of their last 5 games. Sorry, they've won 5 of their last 5 games. It's not entirely true. They have not lost in the last 5 games. They've got 4 wins and 1 draw, whereas Brentford have lost 4 straight, but because they were early form out the door, are looking fairly comfortable even with those 4 straight drops to 14th. They're not looking like they're likely to be going down. This was an entertaining game, but this was a game where, if you can get Wolves to score 2 goals, it's pretty much lights out.
Yeah, their defending is incredibly good. I predicted a 1-0 like most people would have in a Wolves game, in any Wolves game, because that's generally how if they're going to win, it's a 1-0 or they're going to hold them the other team to no goals. So for them to score twice is impressive.
It was impressive indeed. Connie?
This is a team that Brian nailed it. Like usually it's 1-0 Central. This is a team that needs to go out and get a striker. Like they defend so well. And I would say the second half of the season, we all know they had a very tough start. They had a tough schedule. They're playing great football. They've got good players. They're managed well. Like this is the Wolves from almost like a season and a half ago that were coming up and we thought they were dipping. They're playing great. And it's nice to see. Good for them.
A lot of Wolves fans are chattering about how the early form that they like with the new manager, like one of the reasons why they were not necessarily performing at this level is because he messed around with going 4 at the back, and this team is just built for 3 at the back. Yeah, and as soon as he reverted back to 3, even if it's not his preferred style, the team reacted in such a way that it was obvious that that's how they had to move forward. And then you get this 1-0 machine that they have become. And it's you can change managers all you want, but if the players have been conditioned and trained to think a certain way and play a certain way, or if the club has been built to play a certain way, it's hard to just all of a sudden change your management style. And I think Wolves are a good example of that in action. A manager who is refusing to change his management style, Bielsa ball, Leeds hosting Newcastle, an exciting back and forth game of fucking basketball. Rafinha just lighting up the league and doing everything but scoring. And that costs you, Leeds, because all of a sudden you lose the game to John Joe Shelby free kick, only his second win, Newcastle's second win of the season. And this game deserves so much more for Leeds. I loved this. Like it was such an entertaining battle between these two clubs, desperate for points, Newcastle. But ultimately the free kick that John Joe Shelby scored was soft. I would put it down to goalie error.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, should have gotten there for sure. Yep.
It's just wild. I mean, credit to Newcastle for getting the points, but I've never seen a game this wide open and this so expansive and back and forth, resulting in 1 goal.
Can I also ask a question? Like, how long has Patrick Bamford been injured for? Like, is he okay? Is he okay? And is he coming back? Because they've missed his goals this season. And when I watch Leeds, like, you could see the Bielsa ball thing that's happening. Rafinha is gone in the summer. He's worth just watching Leeds games. He's so entertaining. Incredible. Yeah, but they are missing Bamford. Like, they're not scoring like they used to. They were free-flowing last season.
When I last checked in on the subject, he was back in training, and then he had a setback. So now I don't know what that looks like, but I feel like it's like one of those things where he had a long delay, and the setback kind of put him back weeks and weeks to where his progress was. So I wouldn't expect to see him. I mean, you never know. He might all of a sudden come back after the international break, but from what I heard, it's sounding not possible anytime soon for him to make an impact in the team.
They need him.
I have a question that I'm also wondering, and sorry for the question after the question. We had an argument, I want to say a month ago, maybe a month and a half, about how Leeds continue to play Bielsa ball and they can't get results. And I said they should have stopped. Bielsa needs to accept what's in front of him, the players he has, and he needs to shut up shop and try and eke some ties out, eke some points here and there. And you guys all hounded me for it. Do you guys think now, after all the results have gone against him?
I love how people like make up things that happened.
We can go back to this one.
This
you
is a bit of a.
Said you stay to the system.
JP,
even if you have a youth player.
I did not say that, dude.
You are being a little bit revisionist. What happened was his team was devastated by injuries, and they were hosting some good teams.
Exactly.
And then you were like, they should just shut up, stop. And we're like, well, it's not like all of a sudden there will be good defensive. Like, he's got to work with what he's got, and what he's got is kids, so why not just go for it?
Now,
what he's done is, and how he's trained them. It's not as simple as, let's just change. He's not dealing with a bunch of players with a bunch of experience.
JP, I'm going to defend you sort of. It did come up, JP, you're right, and I agreed with you, but Paul did bring it to light for both of us. Like, they had insane injuries.
It's like nine first-team
players. They had a
out
15-year-old on the bench, I think, for one game,
and
right?
He's getting players back now. But he doesn't have Bamford, and he's still not getting results.
No.
Should he make a change?
They've won 2 and 4, man. They have
gotten results. They've improved.
Yeah,
They've
exactly.
Improved. They just need to score more goals when they get their
That's all it is. If they're a mid-table team, they're not in that kind of trouble. For him to play the type of football he wants, he needs world-class
He's never going to do it either. He's never going to change.
You'd need $500 million in today's market.
He wants to be the most exciting mid-table team in the Premier League, and he's mission accomplished.
100%.
Yes, that title for sure.
Like that's that's okay. There's somebody's got to be
love
a regular. You don't always have to have these delusions that you're more than just mid-table and that you got to strive to being something above you. Like they play exciting football. They are in with a shout against any team. They have beaten Liverpool, the defending champions, before with this style of ball. Like that's an amazing day at the yard for the fans to watch. Like I like it. I think it's pretty ballsy. Is it practical? Is it pragmatic? No, God, no.
Not always. Not always.
Has Bielsa ever been pragmatic?
I've never said it's not. I've never said it's not entertaining. But as a manager, your job should not be to be entertaining. Your job is to try and get points and to do the best you can.
I disagree. Honestly, I think there are expectations to put on entertaining football at a lot of clubs. I think Real Madrid,
Leeds would be
as
one
an
of them.
example. Like they want to be entertaining football.
Not against Leeds. I would argue Leeds should take the most pragmatic point of view ever. Like,
why do you argue that?
Because they just came up from being down in the championship for 20 years. Their job should have been, okay, we play what we play. We stay up. If we can get 10th spot, that's a fucking title.
You're not going to take Bielsa and get him to do something different because they're in the Premier League. It just doesn't happen. It's an unrealistic expectation.
Do you think Leeds fans would rather have a Burnley situation? Nobody wants Burnley.
Nobody wants that.
Park the bus central, man. At least think about it this way.
Opposite of the spectrum.
JP, think about it this way: as neutrals, when we tune into a Leeds game, at least we're getting entertainment, and it's not park the bus.
When fit, they finished mid-table the first season up.
That's right.
Why
that's
wouldn't
just
they
it. We're watching it as neutrals. If you're watching as Leeds fans,
no. Let's get a Leeds fan on and ask him.
Those guys are all known scumbags.
They don't actually have Leeds fans. Come on
now. Well, speaking of scumbag fans, West Ham fans decided to get into fights with the police at Old Trafford after a 1-0 defeat to Man United. Marcus Rashford comes off the bench to score the 93rd minute winner. This goal in the 90th minute puts Rashford as the leading goal scorer for Man United game winners after the 90th minute with 4, which is quietly an amazing feat, because if you had asked me before, I would have put money on a heap load of Man United legends having that honor.
Yeah.
Like Van Nistelrooy,
Cole,
a bunch.
Rooney,
Dwight York.
The list of people I would have thought it was ahead of Rashford.
Everybody else.
It's very long. It's very long. The loss extends David Moyes' winless streak at 15 games on the road at Old Trafford as a visiting manager. He just can't seem to get it done there. I thought a 1-0 nick at the end was pretty much defining what I saw in this game. As a Man United fan, I can say I thought the entire game was pretty positive and entertaining. Certainly very exciting to watch at the end. Dave, what did you take of it as another Man United fan?
Yeah, I was really nervous going into this game just because we all know when West Ham show up, they've been a very strong team this season and last season. So I was nervous. I saw progress is what I saw. It looked like the formation that he put out there, it looked like whatever they've been doing on the training ground is starting to work. Was it perfect? No, but you could see progress. And I thought we were the better team. And when we actually got the goal and got the result, I thought it was just maybe even just by a little bit. I do still think there's a lot of work to do. I'm not going to be quiet about it. I think that midfield area is such a gap for Manchester United in comparison to other areas of the field. It needs to improve, especially as the season goes on. But I was ecstatic with the result of this game. I went bananas. I started having a couple drinks. I had a day.
Yeah, I like that. So were you watching the game drinking already, or were you just like, oh, I'm not gonna fucking not celebrate this shit? Bust out the champs.
No, full honesty here, full disclosure. I was a little bit hungover. Like, when you're hungover and you're still like a little bit buzzed. And as soon as that happened, I'm like, well, you know what? We're going to keep this going. And I paid the price the following day. Paid the price. The ultimate price.
I love that decision. Gentlemen, I know you guys watched the game because we had a lot of lively discussion following the winner. What did you guys make of the game? Entertaining to watch? Were you surprised by West Ham at all?
Just, if you don't mind, JP. Yeah, I think to Dave's points, I think United definitely played better. Like one of the better performances under the new manager that I've seen from United. Definitely more organized. I think the shape was a little bit different. He's been playing like a 4-2-2-2 or some shit like that. Like, and it seemed a little bit like it looked like it was set up that way, but they looked a little bit with a little bit more width and a little bit more control. And it was. Yeah, like I said, the best performance. I thought West Ham, again, aren't looking remotely as good as they had to, not to take away credit from United. I think United did deserve the win. But West Ham aren't ticking like they were earlier in the season.
No.
And
I agree.
There's some struggles going on there. And I don't know where to put it at because they don't really have a massive injury problem. Their fitness with Antonio has been pretty fit for the last few games. Still not getting the service that he requires and not finishing when it requires. So West Ham some issues to deal with there and I predicted this and I it's sort of you often do with teams that like West Ham, who are kind of striving to get to that point. Spurs were like that for a number of seasons before they could get into that top four. They play with it a little bit, they get close, they're there for a bit in the season, and then they drop off because they don't have the depth of squad to manage it. And I think that's arguably what we're kind of seeing with West Ham at the moment.
I can appreciate that Man United played well, but I can also appreciate that I haven't seen West Ham pass that poorly in a long time.
Yeah,
it was pretty poor.
Like,
yeah,
there was so many balls kicked out of touch that were just 5
Very
feet
sloppy
off the target. I think Declan Rice is probably the only player I saw for West Ham that actually looked like had a pretty good game. Bowen as well, although he didn't kind of have
I love him.
a
He's a good
role to
player.
play in the winning
love
goal.
him.
I think those two guys are the only ones that were really like they seemed like they showed up this game. But yeah, it was I think. If you're a United fan, just take this win with a grain of salt. Like, we didn't catch West Ham at their best, so a lot of this win was also them helping us out. So
yeah, it's a little bit of both. I think United looked better, West Ham
a little bit of
worse.
both.
Can I ask a quick question? Like, and I don't want to. We've already spent a lot of time on the game. Declan Rice, is he a Rolls Royce of a defensive midfielder? And
Man,
is he worth?
is he good.
Is he worth 100? Because I was so impressed with him this game.
It's not worth
I can't.
100 million.
I'm with.
60.
I'm with
60, yes.
Brian. Like, they keep saying 100, but like hypothetically, quickly, and let's move on. Brian, what would he if you wanted him to Spurs? What should
I would
60?
say 60. I would say 50,
Okay.
60 would be appropriate.
Okay.
I mean, he hasn't done any. He's done well in a side that's being well coached and that is punching above their weight a little bit.
Fair.
That's not a $100 million player. He hasn't done anything. He's done anything internationally. He hasn't done anything. They haven't won any trophies. Like, come on, man.
Nope.
English
Fair.
English tax 75.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Probably right.
Are we just going to skip over the great controversial point, or are we coming back to that?
No,
later?
raise it, man.
Let's go.
For some of us, it wasn't controversial.
That's fine. I mean, I would say some of us it was. Some of us it wasn't. I'm sure United fans will all agree they think it was on sides. I watched it, rewatched it, watched it a third time. I must have watched it 10 times. I took.
Well, hang on.
pictures.
Let's frame this for everybody here. The game is decided by an Anthony Martial through ball to Cavani. Cavani passes it across the box. Rashford puts it in. The reaction from everyone is that Cavani was offside, and a lot of people like yourself were like pretty adamant.
Myself initially,
And Ryan,
but I did put my hands up when I
pretty adamant that it was
of the
offside and that it was, it kind of turned into this like great heated debate about things because in defense to you guys, for some reason the broadcast decided not to cut out and do what they usually do, which is show the review. I, as a United fan, would much rather see my team celebrate in the 30 seconds it took to review it and just move on. And I think there's this weird thing that's starting to happen where if a goal is decided and it's a correct call by a referee, there's this emphasis to prove it to the viewers, which should not be the case. You shouldn't have to prove correct calls.
Hold on. I don't disagree with you. Referees should not have to prove that it's a correct call. But if it's a really freaking close call, like this to me is a super close call.
One foot.
And I definitely disagree with the photo. I disagree with this photo. I disagree with their interpretation.
Okay.
I disagree with the call.
So because you're an American, let's get it clear. You disagree with the photo because it was Photoshop or it's fake news, or like what's the issue with the photo?
Brian brought up a really good point. It should be when the ball leaves the foot. The ball is still clearly on his foot.
You don't know that conclusively. You don't.
Neither does VAR,
and that's true as well. You need conclusive evidence.
I also don't agree with it. It looks like they put the blue line for the West Ham defender at his kneecap, but
It's his toe.
It's his toe comparative to the shoulder of Cavani.
The hand, I would say. When I first saw it,
it's not the hand.
No, it's his shoulder.
It's shoulder.
Here's how it is, guys.
It's your body is what they use on the line.
Yeah, it's whatever parts of the body you could play the ball with. Your that's where the starting point of the line goes down. It's actually correct. The only issue I have with this is, like I said, is whether the ball's off his foot or not. And of course, that is so hard to tell, even in a replay scenario, even when you can stop it and look at it in a VAR situation. Having seen this afterwards, which Paul, shared it on our WhatsApp group, I put my hands up and I'm like, you know what? It is close enough that I'd rather give the benefit to the team that's going to score. If that was Spurs and it got called offside, which it has. Which it has this season like 3 times in almost an identical scenario, and that's another reason why I was pissed that they didn't show us what was going on, because with the Harry Kane one where he was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like that never should have been called, like taken away from him. Not the push, but an offside call. They spent so much time on it, and it was like, and you're sitting there going, okay, and then they called it no goal. This one they didn't even show it and called. You
want consistency, right, Brian? You just want consistency,
and
that's what I said. I was like, I want to see the same thing being done over the same type of call, and that's just not the case. So
my personal favorite with all of this was that immediately, because it wasn't part of the broadcast, they didn't even do a VAR review. Oh, Man United. The
conspiracy thinking for sure.
And then it was like, but they did do a VAR review. They're just not showing. Oh yeah, they wouldn't show it. Yeah, they wouldn't show it, wouldn't they?
Is it strange that on every other VAR review, on every other game, they stop, they show the VAR review, they show the play. This one they didn't.
I'll tell you why it's not, because it's with the 93rd minute of a game where they just won, and the most entertaining thing to show on the broadcast was the fans and players' reactions to it. And it only took them 45 seconds to confirm. But
before we move on,
sorry, hang on a second. You got to get the right call. It means that you do the review, not that you show it on the TV so that you, JP, and the audience can see it.
That's right, exactly. And let's call this out, JP, and you should admit it, JP.
I will.
You have multiple theories about VAR being favored.
It's not VAR. It's just the league.
The Premier League. You think the Premier League has favoritism toward teams like Manchester United, Liverpool, and other big name teams. It's wild that you think that. And was that the case maybe in the past?
He is not alone. Many people think that.
I know they do.
I'll give a very plain example here. Are you going to tell me that Fergie time was deserved time every goddamn time Sir Alex Ferguson got 8, 9, 10 minutes added
First of all, that didn't happen. First of all, that didn't happen. But hold on. Do I think United and Fergie got a little bit of favoritism back then? Yes. Do I think the amount of
they did?
Of course. Do I think the amount of money in the Premier League now with these owners? That's why fucking VAR is there.
No. Hang on. Let's get it straight. The reason why Fergie time existed is because the referees were afraid of Fergie because he had been around for 11 years and was the force that, that's why he was a great manager. He put fear in the referees.
Yes.
That's not them giving the advantage to Man United. That's them afraid of Ferguson, and that's different.
That's not what JP thinks. JP thinks that the league
unintentional favoritism.
He thinks the league has favoritism towards like United and Liverpool. Okay, let's move on.
Let's get back to the scores. But
although when we talk about the Liverpool game, let's hold that theory so when we get to the Liverpool game we can raise that again. Southampton
and the Spurs game we could get to.
I think this is like a win for Southampton. I know it's 1 point, but my God.
It's a massive point. And
it's a massive point.
It's great for the league as well, my goodness.
So Southampton hold Man City to end Man City's 12-game winning run. Man City allowed just the 3rd Premier League goal in the first half of the season. this game, which is crazy. They come back eventually to tie it. Man City had 75% possession and had 20 shots, and Southampton held them out. And this is Southampton's. This is something we probably should have noticed. Southampton have only lost once all season at home.
Wow, really?
And
Yeah, the record is insane.
Holy
and
shit.
I, as soon as I saw that, I was just like, what?
Okay, but hold on. Did anybody see Guardiola's post-match interview?
Of course.
Oh, he said it was the best game they played all season.
And then the guy follows up. He goes, "The best." And then Guardiola's face, and he pauses.
He got
goes,
really mad. Yeah,
He goes, he looks him in the eye like you want to kill him. He goes, "By far."
Yeah.
Like, I honestly, I broke out laughing. He looked like he wanted to stab the guy. He's like, "By far."
It's kind of an absurd. It's an absurd statement, though, and it's understandable why
does
the
that, though.
journalist was saying.
Did you guys see
He's
the-
trying to protect his players.
Of course.
Did you see the reaction of that? And that is, it's really funny because this isn't the first time he's done this. When his team did not get a result, and I wouldn't say play poorly, they just didn't play to their best, and they didn't get the result they wanted. He always comes out and says how great his team played and how great the other team played. The mental warfare he does against his own players is unreal. Like
He's an incredible manager.
He's a wizard, man. He's a wizard.
Whatever.
Barry.
They dropped points. They're going to lose the league now. Fuck those guys.
Okay, hold on. But don't you think everybody outside of like Liverpool, don't you think everyone now is at the point, like they're so good that everyone, like every fan of every team in the league would want them to crumble just because of how good they have been?
Wow,
Nice to
I'm not.
see.
I'm not. I if they crumble, then I don't like the consequences that happen after that. So I would rather them win and have me be able to say, well, they cheated to get there and have a little asterisk than have them
Fair.
get caught up.
Can't spend
Like
money for 6 years.
if
yes.
Klopp beats them, I can't accept that. That's not. I don't.
I like your logic. I think it's fair.
I don't like it at all. Arsenal draw 0-0. That's a 0-0.
Great
To
result.
0-0,
mighty,
JP.
Mighty
Great
Burnley.
result, this one.
Burnley, who need the points. Arsenal continue to lack cutting
they
edge.
don't favor Arsenal.
They have now failed to score in 4 consecutive matches in all competitions, and Burnley remain bottom of the table with 2. But this is where the math
Is it
comes in.
four games now? Wow, that's
4 games, all competitions.
That makes me happy.
Burnley, bottom of the table, but this is where the math comes in. The bottom of the table with 2 fewer games than Watford and 3 fewer games than Newcastle. So when you start adding up the math of
Gotta
where
win
they
those
could
games.
be if they had played, win or draw or do the Burnley thing, don't lose. There's different ways that they
big
could be
point for
coming
them.
out of there.
big point for them against Arsenal.
They do have, and this is important to say, a game this Saturday against Watford and their new manager. So Burnley are maybe starting to do that thing they always seem
Burnley
to do
doing a Burnley.
every single year, where they're in trouble and then they just grind it out slowly but surely.
Sean
there was
Dyche, man, you guys know if you Sean Dyche is the new what's his name, the former oh god, anyway, it'll come to me. Go. Right
There was a
If they
couple
get
of
Buffalo
performances.
chug a bottle, I'll be shocked if they can get out of this.
What was it that you said you were going to chug a beer for last time?
I don't remember.
Oh my god, I'm gonna start writing this shit down. If you can't remember,
Yeah. And I
Well,
make a lot of bets.
can we just assume that you lost and then you have to chug
No,
a beer?
no. That's not how it works, man. Because I'm right every time.
All right, that's fair. I get that. I'm of the same school of thought. I thought a couple of players for Burnley specifically looked really good in this game. Tarkowski for Burnley should be somewhere other than Burnley. I think he's going to be going
free
sometime in the summer. He's just a quality player. And I thought McNeil, who was playing left wing back against Burnley or for Burnley, I thought he looked awesome, very adventurous with the ball. Whereas I can honestly say Arsenal looked like they're desperately in need of somebody who could put the ball in the net. Lacazette missed a couple of chances of this game. And Aubameyang is still being in that doghouse and not looking like he's ever going to get back into the starting 11. I think these guys might start be giving themselves a little bit more of a headache than they need to over there at Arsenal.
I hope so.
Oh, I want to ask like some questions, and Paul, you pretty much led to it. Like Lacazette, I don't think he's good enough for the trajectory that Arsenal are on. I get the feeling from the comments from Arteta that Aubameyang will never be back with the team, which is probably a good thing. I guess they thought he was a cancer, and
That's
they're
why
trying to
they're
get rid
dying
of
for
that.
Vlahovic this window, right? They're
Gone.
trying to bring-
Juventus,
well,
and we'll
he's-
get
yeah,
to
he-
that.
Oh, I know. I'm aware of that. I'm just that's what they recognize their issue. They just
So,
losing.
Brian, this is the
out
question,
there
and that I'm going to pose. Would they be more deadly with maybe the whole false nine, Smith Rowe, Saka, and load
Not
up their
good.
mid?
Players aren't good enough to do that, man.
Lacazette Lacazette's too slow for the Premier League, though. Like, you watch him, you're like,
Let's have a conversation about this.
Playing a false nine now.
We talk about Lacazette like he's a real thing. He's gone anyways. His contract is up.
Contract's
So, like,
up at the end of the season.
talking about him and dwelling on him is saying that they need to get somebody, but we all know they need to get somebody. Their main target is a player who will probably be going to Juventus. We'll talk about him in a little bit. This is where I hope this is true. Jovic is a player who plays for Real Madrid, who not crack the starting 11. He's been a real bust for them, and there's now talk that Arsenal are going in for a loan for Jovic, who is looking to restart his career and who is a capable goal scorer.
Oh, yeah.
But the irony to this is that they had Aubameyang, who went off and did stupid shit, like leave the country to go get a tattoo, and they're going to bring in Jovic, who does stupid shit for Real Madrid and who's basically on the outs because of the stupid shit he's done there, like leaving the country to go visit friends during a pandemic and lying about it to authorities. Like, you're replacing one dumb shit striker with another dumb shit striker, just younger.
Yeah, but they've already pulled in a guy that they've kind of brought out of the woodwork. Odegaard was doing really well, but this loan to Arsenal has kind of put Odegaard on the map.
he's a midfielder, though, JP. They need a striker.
I get that.
They also bought him.
saying, you know, Real Madrid and Arsenal kind of have this thing going already, and it's working. Why not try? Why would Arsenal not try and say, "Hey, do you guys have a striker here that you guys need to get rid of for
every reason I just described about him being a dumb shit striker who does stupid shit."
Arsenal, though, they do dumb shit.
Arteta might not put up with that shit, but in Jovic's defense, no one can get in that Real Madrid team ahead of Benzema. He's been arguably the best striker on the planet outside of Lewandowski for like the last year now. So I think if he can get his head on straight and be a professional, this would be a fantastic move for him. I question his pace as well, and I'm starting to question everybody who's trying to come in the Premier League and make an impact if they don't have pace and physicality. But he can score, and we know that, and he's young.
I would like to see what just happens because it seems like a chemistry experiment, and it could go one way or the other, and I would love to see it happen.
I'd love to see it explode.
Speaking of explosions, Crystal Palace lose to Liverpool to the score of 1-3. Liverpool gained ground in the process to Manchester City. They are now 9 points behind Man City with a game in hand. So if that game is won, they're only 6 points behind Man City, and both of them still have to play each other. So all of a sudden, this little bit
more of a conversation possibly there.
Yeah,
possibly.
That's a lot of ifs.
And Liverpool seemingly are getting through the AFCON period as well, and may only have to miss 1 or 2 more games without their star players, Mane, who, by the way, got carried off the pitch today with a head injury.
Saw that.
And Mo Salah. If even one of those guys comes back, especially Salah, we might have some kind of a race in the Premier League. But this game was marred a little bit. Crystal Palace were down 2-1. Crystal Palace were coming back into the game. They were looking very strong. To give you every indication of how the game was going, Alisson, the keeper for Liverpool, was actually the man of the match. How often does that happen? And then the game was ultimately decided by a penalty where Jota runs into the box and I think doesn't have any control of the ball.
One of the worst calls I've ever seen.
Allows the ball to get too far in front of him. The keeper goes out exactly where the ball should have been if he was going to shoot it, but as soon as he lost the ability to shoot it, he kind of threw himself into the keeper a bit. It was not called a penalty on the field. VAR had a look at it. VAR told the referee, maybe you want to look at this again. And it was the referee who ultimately, on second viewing, decided to award the penalty. So let's get it right. It's not VAR's fault. It's the referee's fault.
Yeah.
It has since been panned by Patrick Vieira, by multiple pundits, by former referees and officials as the wrong decision to have made. And I do not understand how, in slow motion, having seen it live and then in slow motion, a referee can decide that should have been awarded.
So here's the thing. I'm going to jump in here. So Kevin Friend was the referee. And I'm going to say this, and this is to give credit to the Premier League, the opposite of what JP was doing earlier. If Kevin Friend is refereeing a Premier League game the next week of fixtures, I'll be shocked. I agree with Brian. This is one of the most pathetic, shocking calls I've ever seen in my life. And if this came against United, I would say the exact same thing. This was clear as day. How this was called a penalty was nothing short of diabolical. And Vieira's reaction after the game was what you want to see from a manager. He was fuming, as he should have been. And he's not a guy I would want to piss off. pathetic. Regardless of the final result, this call should never happen. The ref, I think you won't see him managing a Prem game for at least 1 week because he's a well-known referee.
I will wholeheartedly disagree with you.
Do we have a bet? Is this the bet maybe,
Whoa,
Paul,
whoa.
you're looking for?
Whoa, hang on. You disagree with what?
I disagree with him saying the referee will not be in the next round. 100%. They do not have enough referees. They don't have any quality referees, apparently. They don't have anybody quality behind VAR, apparently. And favoritism times 10. Like, I totally believe he will be involved, maybe not head, but at least AR of a next round match. I don't think he will sit out at all.
Well, let's take a look at that. It'll be interesting when we come back on to see if that actually happens. Make sure you guys pay attention to see.
I mean, I'd almost make a bet on that.
Yeah, well,
I would take the bet.
If you're so sure about it, you should take the bet, JP.
I'll take a beer for that.
Nice,
How about this?
nice.
If he's not for the next game, if he's not I sip. If he's not refereeing a match, head referee in the next Premier League round,
they're different.
you need to chug a beer on the pod.
I think he'll be an AR or a center.
He'll be working.
He will be an AR or a center.
Probably.
That's not exciting. Whatever.
I'll give you the fourth ref, like the sideline.
All right, that's lame. That's not even fun anymore. You just kind of
come on.
Let's move on.
He will be an AR or a center.
Sorry, I went off a little bit there, but I know you guys feel the same about the call. It was a joke.
We almost had an exciting moment here in the North End. I will point out that there's only 9 games scheduled next game week, not 10. So if they're going to sit somebody for something, do it when you don't have a full roster. And the bet's already been made. I'm sorry. It's happening. Dave Convery doesn't have to give you anything. You just have to chug a beer.
If he's not. He chug it anyways.
I sip.
A beer.
No, that's fine. But like, this is a one-way bet. Yo. If he's not officiating the next round, you're chugging a beer. You've also defined every pot. Like you basically said everything. Like if he's not watching the game at home, you're not going to chug a beer. Like everything you just said.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
By the way,
caveat after caveat.
It was not a PK at all. That was a terrible call.
Awful call. One of the worst. Again, one of the worst I've ever seen. I'm shocked. Shocked at how bad the refereeing is.
Pretty bad. Leicester also pretty bad. Draw to Brighton. God damn it, these guys like to go down and tie a game. They come back to win. They come back to win a point in this game.
Now, like 8 ties for them this season.
It's the 12th draw of the season.
Is it 12?
Jesus.
But they're also dropping a lot of points.
Danny Welbeck has got this reputation as a late goal scorer off the bench now for Brighton.
Great goal
I
too.
Fucking love it that he's doing it. They've actually only lost 1 game on the road all season.
Yeah, they have.
That's wild.
It's the best record or the second best, but next to City in that category, I believe.
That's a great stat.
It's a nutty stat. Yeah, for sure.
Has anybody else noticed that Daka's been scoring quite a bit for Leicester lately, and not just the league, but in different games?
He's done it right.
Yeah.
Leicester struggling though. To be fair,
Oh yeah.
I still love Harvey Barnes, man. He to me can be something special. Harvey Barnes can be a legit player somewhere.
Good player. Yeah, I like Harvey.
It's their defense has just been not good this year.
Where does Harvey Barnes have to go to get to be a legit player? He's at a place where he should be doing it here. Like Leicester are good enough.
Yeah, he should be.
Oh man,
there's no step up for Harvey Barnes here.
Just short of what good enough is. Like Harvey Barnes, I could see at Liverpool.
No, dude, this is the level that he needs to be doing it at weekend, and he's not doing. I know he's had a bad injury, but
he's
jump
been pretty
for
good
him.
For them. He's been pretty good for them.
Yeah, Leicester
is
his peak right now. Let's not put him above.
Yeah,
he's
it's
not
a bit
above,
absurd to think he's going to go to a top 6 team for sure.
I think he can make it in a top 6.
Well, you have some strange opinions, JP. We know
you
that.
really do.
I think the Heat's
That's why I'm here.
It is. The Heat is getting to him. He's on one this spot. He needs a much more consistent body of work.
Can I borrow some of your snow, guys? It's getting warm over here.
Get the man a fan.
With that, we hop on the tube and we head over to London, where Chelsea lay down the smack a little bit on Spurs and get the sweep, the 4-game sweep on the season against arch rivals
8-0
Tottenham Hotspurs
in 1 month against the same team.
Winning 2-0 and failing once to concede a goal against Spurs, and on aggregate 8-0 is what we're looking at. It was ugly. It wasn't pretty. We don't have to talk about it for very long, but we should talk about it.
I don't think. Listen, even that 8-0. Like I've watched most of these games. I didn't think there was a huge gulf in class. Even this game, I didn't like. Listen, I thought Chelsea were the better team in this game, but not by a ton. And there was a ton of talking points in this game too. And Brian, I know you're dying to get into
So
them.
let's get to the key talking point. I think we can all get that one out of the way. Harry Kane scores a goal. 1-0 Spurs. Totally changes the outcome of the game. At the very least, it's not going to be a 2-0 scoreline, but more than likely it would have been very positive.
I arguably would have finished 1-1. It was what I would have seen.
Yeah.
Potentially, yeah.
And that's a point that we desperately could have used for sure.
And it is called back because VAR has a look, and there is a shove against the defender.
There's not a shove. There's a touch on his back, and he dives. It's not a shove. Let's be
Well,
clear.
I'm interpreting why it was called back.
Yes, and I'm
You-
reinterpreting
So
it. It should
you
have
can
been
say
called.
the actual. Okay, just
Let him finish. Let him finish.
right. So obviously you disagree, but the call is reversed because there is a shove. That's what VAR is saying. That's what the review is saying against the defender. In reality, and this is where things get wildly different. That was just a experienced defender realizing that if he's going to give
Yeah.
anything out of the situation, make the referee make a decision, put the pressure on the referee, and that referee crumbled like a bitch.
Failed miserably.
Yeah.
Would you guys both agree that that's never a foul?
No, I think it gets called a foul because Silva sells it, right?
Yeah, but I know, but that doesn't make it a foul. That's absurd.
I
The
know.
selling of it doesn't make it a foul.
But here's where it gets interesting
Whether the
for me,
contact
right?
is enough to make the person go over.
You see the hand and you see him go over. So because we've seen that contact, other than Silva and Kane, no one else can really know what happened. I think we could all agree and make our own
absurd.
assessment that Silva felt the hand and he's like, oh, I know the situation I'm in. I gotta die. And he
I have to
did.
say this, David. I have to say this. What we see on a regular, what we see on this on a regular basis when the situation is reversed and the player who's trying to score gets touched and goes down, the
Yeah,
referee
you're right.
almost always says, "Get up, you're diving."
You're right.
So they
You're right.
call it's a dive, and in this case, it's the roles slightly reversed because he touches him. It in no way forces him to go down. Why in this case is that different than when the attacking player does it? And he goes, "You should get up." That's a dive.
And I agree because I think
that's a yellow card for Silva.
I
It's a
agree,
goal
but
should
when
stood.
you look at it on camera, when you see the hand there and the way he sells it, it looks optically like he pushes him and he goes over.
I disagree, but
We all think Silva takes the dive. Here's my question, and no one's been talking about this. Why does he have to put his hand on him at all? Because I think
it's
if he
shifting his body when you're running full speed and you're going to cut back, he
didn't
stops
have
and he
to.
puts his
He's-
hand like that, he turns his body. It's just a natural movement. It's not remotely close to him shoving off.
I don't know.
There has been a lot of discussion, and I tend to agree to this. One of the problems with having VAR reviewed by referees who are not players is they actually don't understand these nuanced moments. Like the definition of a football move is sometimes a football player will understand what's about to happen, whereas a referee will look at it and not necessarily know it.
Yeah.
The same, I think, goes with forced contact and embellishment. A football player will know that's not enough for a guy his frame and strength to go flying, and that he's thrown himself and he's trying to buy something. Like, I don't know how you fix this. I don't necessarily think ex-players should be referees because, honestly, they're all millionaires. Why would they?
They should be in the VAR booth, maybe.
Yeah.
Honestly, you'd have to hard time finding any of them because none of them want to go off and become officials. That's
No, of course not.
one of the reasons
I'm
why
just
there are
saying.
no ex-players who are referees.
But hey, though, hold on. Just to very importantly interject there, because I think Brian was alluding to it. If you get a couple of seriously experienced players and you pay them enough good money to be on a VAR team, they do it. If you paid them a strong living wage, this is a Premier
To
League.
work for
It's a-
90 minutes and to watch a game, and,
dude,
and make it
Brian,
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that makes sense.
if you said, hey, here's
I'm
a
with you,
million,
David. I
a million
agree.
pounds a year,
To
you're
watch
gonna
matches.
be. You're going to be on a 10-person VAR team. Your career is over, but this is an important thing because the amount of money that's in this league and how important these
Gotta get
decisions
these
are.
correct calls. I mean, because
Exactly. I think that's what they got to do.
And just
You
a quick
might be
note.
honest on the
Just a
timing.
quick note for this game on my part. I don't think Spurs remotely close to winning. Or remotely close to winning this game. The way we set up was awful. It was a strange. We had our wing backs playing as wingers in a 4-4-2. Very odd from Conte. I'm not quite sure what he was thinking. We set up to lose that game, but this call arguably didn't put us in a position where we already had a pretty good feeling we weren't going to do very well. Going up 1-0 in the first half changes it a little bit, so it's
I have a
it's
quick
frustrating.
question.
But they're a much better team than we are for sure. Obviously,
I got a quick question for you, Brian. Ryan Sessegnon started that match, right?
Cess played on the wing. Yeah, he played as a winger, as a left winger.
It is my ignorance is
Out of
showing here,
position.
but is there should there have been somebody better placed to start there? Like, was that
No.
a strange call? Okay,
No.
fair enough.
Region, who's also a left back, who is basically like would have done the exact same thing, being played at a position. Having the way we set up was that we set up with 4 at the back, and then having wing backs playing as our wingers that would also end up being in a 6 when we're defending.
Yeah.
So you're looking at a team that is setting up to just soak
Defend
up
hard.
pressure, just sit, and that hasn't worked for Spurs. The 2 best games we played this season, so we played 3 in the midfield with wing backs flying up and down, which is Leicester and Liverpool. Best 2 games we played this season. I don't know why Conte didn't even try, because nothing else has worked. So,
Can we?
But anyway,
I'm going to call out one point that I thought was interesting, because the week before Ziyech scores and doesn't celebrate, and there was a lot of talk about how there's rupture in the dressing room and that it's a team divided. Chelsea's momentum was definitely going down.
Dr. Tottenham.
And it was a lot of talk about, press talk making a lot to do about nothing. But for me, Ziyech scores, and very reminiscent of like an Eric Cantona celebration, so muted, so downplayed that
He didn't think it was going in. He actually
I just feel like he
shocked that
maybe
he
isn't
went
the
in.
happiest guy either. Like I
Oh,
just
that
feel
too,
like
yeah.
No, he's not been playing well.
like
I don't think.
Well, he hasn't been playing, to be fair. Like
Right.
the rotation in that squad is too much for some of those players.
But
I
that's
think they should play week in.
the
week out.
kind of goal that you score very
Go
rarely.
crazy.
Yeah,
Go
it's
nuts,
not for
man.
him. Not for him though. He scored that exact goal against Spurs in the Champions League. I've seen him do it
For
before.
Ajax, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen him do it a few times.
Listen, he's got a
Incredible.
beautiful left foot. He's been inconsistent. I thought he had a good game this game, but he's got to be more consistent. Like he's been injured. He's been poor. We know what he's capable of. He's got to do it in the Premier League. And it was, let's be honest, it was a wonder goal. So, Bri, I factor that in as well. Like you talk about that.
Yeah.
The set piece goal was a set piece. My question for you is, why doesn't Lucas Moura automatically start this game?
I don't know. I mean, Bergwijn had a good game the last game when he came on.
Yeah.
Rotation. Honestly, Lucas Moura, as good as he's been this season, hasn't been very good for a few games. So, from a form perspective and from a rest perspective, Bergwijn was arguably a better choice.
Issues with the second. I know the foul leading up to it. Like you could argue if you're a Spurs
I don't
guy.
think it was a foul.
Yeah.
I think there's no contact. If you watch the replay, there's no physical contact. I do take into account that certainly sometimes impedance can mean that the call is given anyway because he's impeded him with the slide and the player is forced to move out of the way. So maybe contact isn't necessary. I still think it's pretty soft, and I think that I was disappointed. I can see why people would argue the other way, and I wouldn't fight it. But
It's a tough position if you're a Spurs fan watching the game the way that game was reffed, right? Because you're like,
It was
we
brutal.
we need a fucking point so badly now. Like we're in a huge fight. We've got games in hand. That point at the end of the season could be huge.
massive. And honestly, if we win those games in hand, had we at least gotten a result there, we would have gone above Chelsea if we won those
Oh,
games
yeah.
in hand, based on points. So
Whereas Chelsea win the 3 points and get within 1 point of Liverpool, even though, let's be fair, Liverpool have played 2 less games than Chelsea, so it's still very much look at that top of the table with an asterisk behind everybody's number of games played. Great game. Disappointing result for Spurs fans. I'm sure
I
there's
didn't think it
a
was
lot
a
of
good
Chelsea
game. It
fans.
was a shit game. I was really pissed off. Anyway,
I enjoyed watching it. It does bring us next to our player of the week. We have a new candidate, not been mentioned yet before on this show. Mohamed Sulisu, part of the Southampton defense. We're going to get into this guy a little bit. He has been
Statistics this season are
100% below the radar. Let's talk about this guy against Manchester City. 100% tackles won, 7 of 7, 14 clearances, 4 ball recoveries, 4 interceptions, and a who scored rating of 8.2. This guy was on fire. He is our ISO date star player of the week. But while we're on the subject of this young man, let's talk about some other stuff. He is leading the league in clearances with 128, interceptions with 62, tackles won with 38, dribblers tackled with 29. All the defensive metrics that are just purely defensive. His ball distribution is not nearly up to the snuff, and that's probably why we don't notice him.
yeah.
And he is on a team that has to defend very much all the time.
Yeah.
But
So-
God, this guy's having a season.
He'll end
yeah.
up at Liverpool in the summer, right? Like we all.
No, he
have that
won't.
consensus.
He won't, and I'll
Everybody
tell you
goes to
why.
Liverpool.
Can't play the
No,
ball.
every top team now, JP, will not buy a defender if they can't play the ball. It's just the high press and getting
is
the ball. And Brian knows this well too. Like it's what Conte wants more than ever is if you can get the ball from midfield, from defense to mid, or from defense straight to attack. You need that to be an elite defender playing for an elite team. And if he can't do that, that might be the only thing holding him back. But my God, can the boy defend?
If he's next to somebody who can, though, I mean, that's also the case. Sometimes you get
Maybe.
these players who,
Yeah.
if he's beside somebody whose distribution
That
is
was like a
incredible.
Vidic bribe. Like Vidic couldn't really move the ball, but
Yeah.
he'd give it to Rio, right?
Yeah,
Like
and you could see him beside
Van
Dijk. Van Dijk in Liverpool, like that would work.
It was more of a joke that every top
I know.
Southampton player just goes to Liverpool.
Hey,
But
good-
okay,
you're
guys,
not wrong.
thanks.
you are not wrong.
I get it, JP.
Liverpool and Spurs
I'm happy
both.
for
Very
it.
good, very good, very droll, very good. Guys, let's talk about the news of the day. Claudio Ranieri, as we kind of alluded to before, was given the sack kind of unceremoniously by Watford, who have got this wicked reputation for being worse than Chelsea when it comes to treating their managers in a cold-hearted way. They're going to be going on to their third manager of the season. It was announced today. Roy Hodgson is in to do the great escape for Watford. If he's done anything before in his career, it's one of the things. He's done so many things that the great escape is one of the things on his very extensive CV. Claudio Ranieri, I don't know, ever really had a chance at Watford. I don't think anybody realized how bad it is there. I don't know what
They're in a
Roy
mess,
can
aren't
really
they?
do. If Roy doesn't bring in somebody to stabilize their defense, I don't see this squad being anywhere near good enough, especially when Newcastle clearly are going to be going to the market any day now to reinforce their squad and have been hugely underperforming. So all they need is a combination of new players and certain players that they already have to wake up and fucking do what they're supposed to be doing. I think Watford, I almost want to say this is probably too much of a challenge for Roy. I don't see him being able to pull it off.
Too much of a challenge, too far down. I can't see it happening. I also think Roy's obviously with his age, he's it's been a bit old school to say the least. and maybe it'll work for Watford. I'd have to look at their squad. I don't know well enough to determine it, but when you've got Musa Sissoko as your star midfielder, you're not working with a lot. So
You think?
Hang on. They also have Tom Cleverley.
yeah,
don't leave him out.
Yeah.
Do you think Big Sam said no or what?
Yeah, probably. If he was asked, I would say probably.
But also, to go back to Paul's point, I don't think it was unceremonious the way he got. Like, apparently, he was told after the match on Saturday, and they announced it today. His record was horrific. Like, he was probably happy when he got let go. He's like, I don't want to manage this team anymore. It's a goddamn mess.
My understanding, there was a lot of discussions about legal things, and it was an ugly weekend when it came to that. I know that there was a Sky News reporter that threw a mic in his face while he was getting into his car. Like,
Yikes.
I
he
would say
handled
it was
that well.
unceremonious.
I watched
But-
that. He
But
handled
all of
it
that
well.
is what I would call unceremonious.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, how does Sky? Like, how are they? Like, how are
It's
they
Sky,
aware
man.
of what just happened in the building? That's a leak. That's not supposed to happen.
For sure.
Like, it's just. He's a nice guy. I don't know. He won the
Well,
league.
we think about Leicester. We love Claudia. Well, Brian.
It's a weird thing to try to get contentious on when I use the word unceremonious. That you're trying to be like, well, it was pretty ceremonial. Just let it. It was not a great a day in the life of Watford today. And Elton John, I don't know what's going on with your club, but figure it out, buddy.
Get it
Figure
together.
it out. Another club trying to figure it out, seemingly, is Manchester United, who have apparently got a short list of at least 3 managers that are in consideration and possibly in active negotiation, because it's looking less and less likely that Ralph Rangnick will be staying on in the summer to be the permanent manager. The candidates so far would be Pochettino from Paris Saint-Germain, who is apparently not the happiest there and maybe missing his family who are still in England. Eric Ten Hag, who is maybe the hipster choice amongst Man United fans. He's a little bit more of a, well, we don't know how good he is, but we suspect he might be really good. And then Luis Enrique has entered the fray as a possibility. He's a free agent. He's also been the manager of the Spanish national team most recently, and obviously Barcelona once upon a time. These are the supposed leading candidates right now. There's a few other names that have been bantered around, but I think all those are kind of like just smoke and mirrors.
Quick question for you guys then on this. Who do you want and who do you expect to come in?
Who do you want to go first?
I'm still rambling, so I'll just talk.
sorry,
Eric Ten Hag from me. No, it's not that I was still going to go anywhere. I would just like to break. Eric Ten Hag is my gut feeling but I am watching his team in the Champions League this season to really get a final impression of what he's able to do.
As long as he has his people, because he's got a large group of coaches that he works with, including recruitment and everything else. But I'm sure United can afford it. So
I would go with Ten Hag as well. I think we also have a pretty good relationship with Ajax, but I think the way Ten Hag manages, and apparently is, Ragnick's going to stay on as a consultant for 2 years and be a big part of this process. They're a lot more aligned. I do like Pochettino. The whole not having won anything, I don't know how much credence that holds anymore. Luis Enrique is the manager of the Spanish national team. He wants to manage the World Cup. His name's been listed, but I think it's probably going to be between Pochettino and Ten Hag. I like the way Ten Hag lines up that Ajax team. I think if you've managed PSG, I think you did a great job at Spurs, but I don't know. I think Ten Hag's more in line.
Yeah, for sure. Quick interruption, JP. If you got a roll, buddy, all good. We'll catch you next time.
Yeah, sorry guys.
No worries, brother.
Something came up.
Appreciate the insight.
Bye,
No worries,
JP.
Thanks, guys. Have a good
Cheers,
one.
Have a pretty good evening.
You too, guys.
So massive summer decision, but looking more and more likely like the news will break and an agreement will happen before the summer, which is exactly what I think this club needs to do. They need to get the building blocks in place so that they can go into a summer transfer plan with a profile player and a list of players that meet the expectations and the structure that these managers would bring. Interestingly, though, all of these managers play a 4-3-3. And it does seem like that's where we are going now. So hopefully there's some sort of style of play that the team can start building around, regardless of who they're ultimately going to give the keys to, which would be ideal because that means we can get some players in January. But Man United, not so much getting players right now, but looking to move some players on. Today's news is that Sevilla have agreed to a loan deal with Anthony Martial. Anthony Martial was pictured today in Spain and has had, I think, the handshake moment after his medical. So it's a done deal. Understanding is that there is no loan fee, but his full salary of £250,000 a week will be picked up by Sevilla. So that's a big bill off the wage structure for Man United. I guess the only real question I'll put to Dave is he, with this move, assume a successful loan done at Man United, or is there a possible road back?
I wouldn't say he's done, but he's got at least 1.5 feet out the door. So from what I've been reading is that United don't want to officially sell any players unless they're fully out of contract, right? You got Paul Pogba, Jesse Lingard. So what I've read is that they're happy to get him off the wage books. He wants to go. He wants to leave, period, so he's likely going to go. I think this is a good loan move, especially if United want to bring somebody in. But more so, I think it's going to be good for Martial. He's low down the pecking order. He's not playing. He's obviously not happy. Go to Sevilla, get some game time, enjoy your football. And for me, selfishly as a fan, maybe this will open up something for United to get something done in January for a midfielder. But you know what? He lacked consistency. He never made the role his own. Struggled a little bit. So maybe it's just that time, right? I don't know.
It's one of those ones where every game, every goal he scores, we're all happy. Like,
sure,
increase his price or give us a striker that we're going to need to replace Cavani that might actually like score goals if we give him some playing time with new confidence. So I like this move as well. I always liked Anthony Martial. It just felt like he was at the club when we needed something more out of him. If you brought this player into a team that was really already pretty well built, that skill set that he brought would be that extra little bit of magic, but we needed him to be a little bit more hardworking than that. Jesse Lingard is rumored to be on the move, possibly any day now, to Newcastle. Newcastle are desperate for bodies. The understanding is that Jesse Lingard is very highly regarded by Newcastle, that they think they can really use him for the rest of the season. They're offering supposedly not just to pick up his full wage bill, which is much lower than Martial's, but to throw millions of pounds as a loan fee on top of that. The rumors are anywhere from 5 to 10 million, which is a little bit crazy for what essentially is like a 3-month, 4-month loan for the rest of the season. But it is looking like it will be tempting enough that Jesse Lingard will move on. For him, if it's no obligation to stay with Newcastle at the end of the season and he's free to sign whoever he wants, this would be a great move for him. I think. Like,
I want him Spurs desperately.
I was just going to ask you
fantastic.
that, Bri. I'm like, why wouldn't Spurs be in for this guy?
I don't know.
man?
Honestly, I'd love him. I think he's a great player. I think
Yeah.
he's a creative forward we're missing somebody who can do what he does really well. I watched him at West Ham last season. I was just annoyed because I'm like, I'd take him in a minute. I like his attitude. I think he's the right type of player. I'm so shocked he's not getting more time at United, to be honest.
Like him in Dele Alli out, I could see being just a great move. He's a grafter too. Like he put in that work that Conte would love. I'm
Work rate's
shocked
great.
you guys. Yeah, and I have to think he would rather a move outside of wages, right? Outside of wages, we don't know what Newcastle's going to do. I think he'd rather go to Spurs than Newcastle.
I think
Probably.
Man United would probably have a hard time selling him to Spurs.
Oh, didn't even think about that. Good call.
Yeah, I think
Good call.
from a competition perspective, because of that fourth spot and because of what he might do for us, you know, in the second half of the season, I can see why they wouldn't want to do
Fair
it.
And it's,
shout.
and it's Daniel Levy. Like, no, I mean, he's a son of a bitch to everybody else. Like, why would you want to like do a deal, even if it was a loan fee? And also, you know, Daniel Levy's not going to pay $10 million for a loan.
No.
No.
It's a certain degree
Daniel
of
Levy's not going
business.
to pay anything for anything. So
It makes sense
Yeah.
for Newcastle because they're risking not being in the Premier League next year. So like you're throwing money at something that and they have more money than God now. So I think if you're excited by him and it feels like it's a good fit with Conte, don't be surprised if in the summer the short list of clubs he negotiates with for
Yeah.
a permanent deal includes Spurs. And I would be surprised if they would even sniff at him for a loan for the rest of the season. Not the last, I can't guarantee that, but the next player on the list is another Man United player who's getting a lot of attention because everybody thinks he's better than he probably is. Donnie Van De Beek. It is understood that Man United had been approached by a host of clubs for Donnie Van De Beek for the rest of the season on loan. Crystal Palace has been listed as a possibility. Everton have been listed as a possibility. I think Tottenham are kind of one of the rumor mills as well. But I
yeah,
don't know how
it's coming a bit. The reason I asked you guys about that today is because many of the Spurs fans were losing their shit that we weren't in for Donnie Van De Beek, and I'm like,
Yeah.
First of all, you know, my first thought was, and that's why I wanted to ask you guys, like, you know, why hasn't he gotten to the United side? Is it a scenario where, you know, there's just too much ahead of him? Obviously, the Bruno Fernandes being the obvious one with the position that he plays, but also maybe he's not performed under two managers in training, and he's just not quite up to the level yet. He's a young player. And of course, for Spurs, it's similar to the last one we just spoke about. He's not going to go to competition. He's not going to like him or Lingard. Thank you. Him or Lingard would improve Spurs in exactly the same way we need to improve right now in a creative aspect. And I just think I don't think United would do it. But good player. You know, at Ajax, similar to some of the other players we've seen come to the Premier League, really good at Ajax, in the Champions League even. But when they get into the Premier League, they tend to.
He's highly technical, which a lot
there.
of a lot of players coming out of the Dutch setup are highly technical.
Yeah.
But there's just you're not
Pace
getting
and
that
physicality, I think,
that
is missing.
athleticism.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's like Daley Blind is a similar kind of player. Is that like so smart? Although Daley Blind was much smarter than Donnie Van De Beek, I would argue.
He was also physically a bit bigger too.
And he got played in a lot of different positions he probably shouldn't have for how physical he was. Not necessarily apples for apples comparison, by the way, because Daley Blind, his brain made up for a lot of shit that his body couldn't
Smart
do.
player, yeah.
Donnie Van De Beek, though, does seem to run around the pitch a lot without the ball, but it doesn't necessarily turn into anything. He runs, but he's not fast. He's not quick.
That's been my assessment of him. Every time he's come on, even against teams that aren't, he should arguably in that position that he's in, sort of dominate that area of the pitch. Doesn't seem to have it. And I think it is a pace and a physicality scenario where he's coming up against defenders who just bully him, and he gets knocked off the ball easily. He loses the ball, or his passing isn't quick enough, and he just hasn't adjusted to the Premier League.
You could also make a strong argument he still hasn't gotten enough playing time.
Yeah, I would argue with
right?
that too. I would argue with that too.
Yeah.
For
So
sure.
the
At Palace,
understanding
he's playing
is
every
that-
game for sure. So maybe
The understanding is that Man United don't want to sell him permanently because they do think that
they want to develop him.
every opportunity that the new manager may have a plan to use him and give him a fresh start. Paul Pogba might be leaving, so they might need to have some creative presence in that squad. There probably is more minutes. I love this because if you're not using him, go get him used to the Premier League, and then based on his
Plays every
performance in the Premier League, decide what you're going to do with him. If he can't do shit at Crystal Palace, then at least you know what he is.
Yeah,
Exactly.
if he's playing beside Gallagher and Gallagher still stands out as much better than him, then we know the difference.
I have a
You
quick
got it.
question. Instead of sending him to a Premier League team where
JP's back.
I know, I'm back. Ah! I guess my timing is way off today. If when it's sunny out, you just relax in the sun. Everything just
Shut
blends
up.
together.
Yeah.
Should he, instead of going to Crystal Palace, should he be sent to a lower league to get his confidence back?
No,
work on
he's
a few
better than
things
that.
like
No.
Spain?
See
No?
if he's
All
good
right.
enough for the Premier League.
Yeah,
and you
no,
know
this
what?
guy-
And I think with Donnie Van De Beek or Lingard, you can't do both. So it's got to be one. I would say, for me, selfishly as a United fan, get this guy to Crystal Palace, get Jesse some more playing time, or if you're going to do both, you got to bring in at least another midfielder. But I'd love to see what Donnie Van De Beek is in the Premier League, and I think a lot of us would, right?
I think this is the perfect type of team to go to. I could see him in like a Brighton. I could see him, a team that's in that sort of mid-table that needs creativity, that needs to get them a little bit further up the pitch, a little bit smarter, creatively, and you know immediately if he's going to stand out or not.
Totally.
Next, we start getting into increasingly more rumor mill kind of stuff and some breaking news. So we'll just throw up whatever slide you want, my friend. Tanguy Ndombele. There is some talk that a loan move is a possibility to Paris Saint-Germain from Tottenham. This is
Brian's
probably
favorite player ever.
a larger conversation. It
Such a
does
disappointing-
feel like there is a natural parting of the ways required between this very mercurial, talented player and Tottenham. It does not seem like it's going to be working out. So I think both parties are looking to just
Biggest issue here, just to quickly add to this, this slide is initially the club Spurs wanted Paris to pay for all of his wages rather than split it, but which is normally the case, right? When a player goes on loan, it was originally a loan deal, or as you say, it is a loan deal. Loan him out, each team pays half the wages. Levy, as Levy does, was like, no, we insist on him. You playing the whole wages. Now that's the beginning of it. Apparently, Paris has come back and said, okay, we'll pay the wages. No, we want it as a permanent deal, not a loan. This is what Levy's done. So an opportunity to get Tanguy Ndombele, who we paid 60 million plus for 3 seasons ago, who's done absolutely fuck all, has a incredibly shit attitude. 3 managers have really basically said this guy's not gonna cut the mustard, and you need to get him off your wage book. He makes 200 grand a week. He's on the same money as fucking Harry Kane somehow, and this is what Levy does. This is why we hate Levy, by the way. This is the kind of shit. And in the transfer window, when we're desperate for reinforcements, when we're desperate to get players out that need to get out, like him and like Delhi, and this is the shit we have to deal with. Anyway,
So, Brian, I'm happy you said that, but I was reading reports today, and I wonder if you've read anything similar. And I didn't know about the fee stuff, but outside of that, they were kind of hemming and hawing a little bit, but like, I don't know, do we want this guy? Do we need him? Or is it all financial stuff at this point?
My understanding it's only financial, but I mean, things are written. I'm not
This feels like somebody's going to change their stance closer to the actual deadline.
Yeah,
and that this
Levy
is
is going to, and it's going to be too late. We're going to be stuck with another player who fucking sits on the pine, rides the pine, and does nothing.
Gets paid a ton of money.
And gets paid.
Keep your eye on this space. My favorite memory of Ndombele was the photos of him and Jose Mourinho training during the pandemic in some sort of park somewhere, just between the two.
illegally as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Loved it. Moving on to the next. Luis Diaz. This guy
This
has
is the guy
kind
from
of
Porto I was talking about.
has kind of blown up a little bit in the rumor mill because he's not only attached to Spurs, but he's also attached to Liverpool and is attached to Manchester United. This is the danger, I think, with a lot of players coming out of Portugal. Portuguese press don't get held accountable for the rumors, but also a lot of clubs watch the Portuguese league, and there's a lot of like talented players there. So we'll focus on the possibility that he might be going to Spurs. He's a very gifted, skillful winger. I think he's about 24, 25.
What side of the pitch is he on? Is he a right winger?
He's on the left side, but he can also play on the right, predominantly on the left. The rumor is that he's the subject of a 46 million, I believe it's pound, bid from Spurs. Don't know how much I believe.
Yeah, I don't believe any of this, but yeah, I saw the same report. So go on.
And the other reports are that he's maybe worth 60 million to Porto. So this is like one of those watch this space. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody did pick him up, but honestly, that having watched Bruno Fernandes rumors for 3 years practically, it is unbelievable the rumor mill that comes out of Portugal.
Yeah,
My son just dropped off a berry from me. Look at this.
I think that nice.
Did you guys?
I think the number is absurd as well. 46 million from a player at Porto in the Portuguese league is a bit odd for me. Paul, you could mute your mic while we're talking.
Shut up, kid.
It depends on how good the player is, though,
I guess,
Brian, right?
but this isn't a Bruno Fernandes. This is
No.
So I'm just saying it's a little bit odd to me. But whatever.
Paper talk.
I don't know if you guys
Paper
brought
talk
this up.
likely.
I could be wrong, but I don't think it's paper talk anymore. Did you guys talk about Fabrizio's point on him?
No.
Fabrizio Romano posted today that official bid for Luis Diaz is being reported from Tottenham.
Yeah, it's being reported again.
Okay.
It's been,
Hold on. But if Fabrizio reports that,
but if
Fabrizio
he's reporting it's been reported, it doesn't necessarily mean anything. Just because he said it.
But he's usually
player
used.
dreams of Premier League deal, but it's not easy between the two clubs.
Yeah, it's it's a vague.
It's a vague
46 million is a low ball offer for this player. Is what I was trying to say when I've heard him attached to a 60 million valuation.
You think so? Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I don't know enough about him, so.
And again,
Brian, you would like him. You would like
based
him
on
a
his
lot.
value to Porto, right?
Yeah, of course. That's
if you want to see. If you think he's going to be exciting to you, if you want to target him, watch the highlights of his play against Liverpool in the Champions League.
Oh yeah,
I've seen him before, and I think maybe that's where I recognize him from. Is that
watch specifically it's on YouTube. Find him versus Liverpool.
Okay.
That's the great equalizer. You can see what he
again.
can do
I'm just going to tease myself of a player we're never going to get this.
Yeah, that's probably true as well.
Tottenham way.
Conte, man, Conte might get what he wants here because if he leaves, man, like he might.
Moving on to the next.
Yeah,
slide.
let's move on, please. I don't want to talk about that anymore.
So this is basically a done deal.
Another one bites the dust with
this is meaningful for a few different reasons. Number one, Dusan Vlahovic is probably one of the top young strikers that was expected to move this summer or before the summer transfer window opens. A lot of clubs will be affected by him coming off the table now that he's seemingly signed for Juventus. Juventus, rumor has it, has spent their entire transfer kitty for the summer on this move to get ahead of everyone else.
Risky.
On one player. He's he's a man of a man, and he's 21 years old.
Huge giant.
I've seen a lot of his numbers behind him. He's the leading goal scorer in Serie A, which is very impressive.
A lot of penalties in those goals. By the way,
where I tend to get a little bit curious about it is that he's got 17 goals, but in open play he's only got something like 14 or 13 goals. So a lot of those
5 or 6 of pens. Yeah, it's
a lot of those are sitters. But he's also not playing for a team that's particularly good. Fiorentina is not exactly a offensive dynamo. And when you see the goals he does score, he looks very dangerous in the box.
He's a beast. I mean, he's a big man too.
And let's face it, there's no chance that this guy isn't really, really good if Juventus are
shelling
going
out
for
this
him.
much money.
Yeah. I mean, this is the kind of move where it makes perfect sense. It'll be the same thing if Haaland goes to Bayern Munich. You're just like, you know what? It makes sense. Like the best young talent in that league goes to the biggest team in that league.
Yep. He wanted to go to Juve too.
Yeah,
he did want it.
He wanted to go to Juve.
He teased Arsenal and Spurs for.
That's it. Well, he teased Arsenal a lot. So real time update: the deal has been agreed for 75 million euros, 7 million net per season. So he's going to get paid at Juventus, and both teams have agreed. And Crystal Palace have officially put through the loan request to Manchester United for Donnie Van De Beek. They have to pay his full wages, and negotiations are ongoing within the last hour. So real-time updates.
Yeah, nice update there from Connie, our transfer specialist at the North End. Well,
respect up Fabrizio.
The Dusan move specifically, I think, affects a lot of Arsenal fans. A lot of Arsenal fans have been seeing his name for about 2 months now. This is going to be that thing that probably
it was same as on Spurs for the same amount of time, just earlier in the season. But yeah,
the Jovic loan is now is starting to escalate because this move is materialized. The next move is related to this move in some ways because Juventus now need to get some players off the books. They are cash strapped. The Italian league is not doing very well financially. Juventus are not performing particularly well either right now financially. They have a lot of really heavily paid players like Aaron Ramsey and a certain CDM.
He's on 450 grand a week, isn't he?
A ton of money.
A lot of money.
A ton.
Ridiculous.
He is the trap of signing a free agent and taking the money that you would have given a club and putting it on the wages instead, what you end up having is this golden cage of a player that you can't move on without paying all or a significant portion of his salary.
Yeah.
The rumors
Alexis Sanchez.
yeah. The rumors are Aaron Ramsey is going to be sold. Juventus, the board of directors of Juventus have said he's gone.
Yep.
Whether he knows it or not, I don't know. But the
Well, it's
likely
all over media.
destination
He must be
will be
seeing it.
a club in the Premier League. This will be a situation where they just have to pay a very large.
How old is
portion
he now,
of-
Paul? Did that come up when you were
He's
looking
like
at
31 or 32
31 or
now.
32.
He's maybe got another year or two in his.
Yeah.
I thought he was younger for some reason. Is
No.
he 31?
He's been at
Yeah, he's
Juventus
older,
for 3
dude.
seasons now, right? So,
Well, since
Yeah,
I'm
you got
talking,
one.
why don't you use your phone?
I'm doing it.
You Google it up. I think there's a number of clubs, depending on how much they have to spend on his salary, but I think there's a number of clubs the
31.
remainder of the season that would benefit from Aaron Ramsey. He can play the ball.
Right.
he's a good player.
He can unlock a defense. He can score from midfield. He is not necessarily a 10 that needs to play more advanced up the field. He is the kind of player he wouldn't go to United, but I will give you an example. When we're trying to unlock a defense, I don't mind having him instead of Fred out in the field.
Oh, much
yeah.
better than Fred. Yeah, for sure.
He is-
I
he is
liked him at
capable.
Arsenal, and that's saying a lot because I don't like anybody at Arsenal.
He
but
was. He at one point he was their best player.
he was
Remember, he was on a
incredible.
tear.
He always pissed me off. I was like, oh, fucking Aaron Ramsey.
He'd be good at Brighton as well.
The only club I think there's no chance of him going to is Spurs, and that's a Arsenal Spurs situation. But there's 3 or 4 clubs that I think I would get excited if I was them. The prospect of having him come in, I think Leicester would be a great fit for him. As an example, I think they could probably use the help. I think Wolves would be a really interesting prospect for him as well. Different style of play, but honestly,
He's not Portuguese.
Yeah,
He's not Portuguese. That's true. So he's likely to be moving on sometime. But this is more of a watch the space because I think he won't be the only one leaving Juventus on a loan or permanent fire
Teams need to
sale
look
kind
at
of
rating
situation.
them right now to see who's available and like what they can get because that's
You know who needs him more than anybody? Fucking Everton. That's who should
Yeah,
be going
that's a
after.
good
Do not go
shout.
to Everton. Aaron
But,
Ramsey,
well,
do not go there.
No.
I
He'll
know.
go to a team around London.
But if you are Everton, you're like, here's the money, please come. Like this.
I'm
guy's class.
going to throw this out because it's a loan deal and it's going to be, if you're going to loan somebody out who's got a huge wage and it's about paying his wage, Newcastle.
Yeah,
Oh,
Newcastle's
good
a good
shout.
shout for sure. Yeah.
Good
That is
show.
a
Well, probably the only team outside of Man City, United, and obviously
If
That
you
could
fast
cover that
forward
wage.
2 weeks,
like those
2
three
weeks
teams
from
can
now,
afford his wages.
2 weeks from now, if you fast forward and Newcastle are lining up with Aaron Ramsey and Jesse Lingard, they are so much more dangerous as an offensive
They don't
team.
go down if that happens.
No,
I don't
correct.
think they do.
Nope.
Man, Juventus, this deal that Juventus has done is going to have a massive trickle effect in these last 5 days.
Well, we needed it. We needed something.
yeah,
to kick
because
off
that
the-
sale really, they need to make some money up. Aaron Ramsey sale, Bakori or whatever his name is.
Betancourt.
Betancourt
Get your
sale
shit together with your-
potentially. Just
JP, if he signs for Aston Villa, then you can learn his name. But if
I
he
know, I
doesn't,
don't even
then
know it.
why
Fuck
bother?
off.
Why bother?
It's the Tottenham way, man. Don't
No,
even care what happens.
are you taking the piss out of Tottenham right now? This guy mid-table
It's not
mediocrity for
everybody.
taking the piss out of Tottenham.
Okay, Tottenham fans should never talk about mid-table mediocrity.
Well, we've been in the top 4 for the top 5 for the last.
They're-
5 years. Oh.
They're also in the final of
I love
the
it-
thing
I
called
love
the Champions League.
I
You ever
love-
heard
I
of
love
it?
when a Villa fan makes fun of a Spurs fan.
We are
Oh,
trying to
anyway.
wrap this show
Anyway,
up. Why
let's wrap-
are you throwing bombs at like?
JP,
It's like, hey, we're all
JP.
done now. Let's talk and stuff.
Yeah, well, anyways, it's been a pleasure. Wonderful stream
Yeah.
today, guys. JP, fuck you. Paul, good to see you, buddy. David, good to see you. No, I'm kidding, of course. JP, love you. Yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll be back. What's the plan, guys? We've got
Next week?
2 weeks off here,
Another
essentially.
project next
But
week?
I think we'll probably do a transfer deadline day
A week
episode
today.
or
A
a
week-
special of some kind. So look out for that. I'm also going to be doing something on Tottenham on tour. Maybe
Transfer
we'll
midnight?
do a scenario where we can double the channels.
Yeah.
both channels at the same time, which we can do. Which
Brian,
we-
Brian,
Go ahead.
Brian, don't do that.
Oh.
We could double.
Oh.
We could double the
Double at
channels.
the same time.
Yeah, whatever. We'll do a little.
It's a
scissoring.
family show,
I'm
guys.
do a little
not
scissoring.
doing that, Brian. Not again.
We'll do a
I'm
little.
gonna- I'm
On
gonna-
the other end of it, though.
I'm gonna call it. I think there will be some moves. I think Vlahovic, like Dusan's been the blockbuster one, but I think we will see some action in the next week or so.
For sure. Well, on that note, we'll see everybody next week, and looking forward to it. And enjoy the international break or whatever the fuck. It's called.
Subscribe to our show.
Like the show, like the channel.
And
We're close
like
to-
it.
Love you.
We're close
We
to
love
100
you.
guys. We're at 87 or 88 now. We got a few
Push
more
it, push it,
today.
push it.
Want to get to 100, and
Push it real
your
good,
help is
dude.
appreciated. Cheers,
100 and then the world.
everybody. Peace out.
This is the North End.